another edition of the Artist Spotlight Show. And we have got a treat for you this morning. Our show is being brought to you by Music Dreams USA Radio Worldwide, Table and Mike Productions up in Asheville, North Carolina, and Biker Bay Barber and Company. Michael Wells is in the house. He's an amazing artist, and he just released his first album. We're going to talk about that album. We're going to talk about how it got started, what's he up to now, and what are some of the fun things he's done in his musical journey. We're going to find out this and much more as the Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight Show rolls on. And now let's introduce our special guest, Mr. Michael Wells. How are you, sir?
I'm good this morning. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So what part of town are you in?
I'm just north of Chicago in a village called Winnetka, so I'm on the burbs nowadays. But yeah, I'm in the Chicagoland area.
Well, great. It's so great to have you on the show this morning. Thank you for taking time out to be with us. And so let's start off the show. You know, people are watching now, we'll be watching later. How did your musical journey begin? And what are some of the highlights that have really stood out to you as it relates to your musical journey?
Oh, I started pretty young doing music in a sense. So my dad was a musician, and then my mom was a radio DJ. So music was like, there I was always around gigs and stuff and people playing instruments. So I got into it when as a kid, and I started playing in bands, when I was a teenager, and I kind of got into kind of heavy metal music first, but then that kind of changed into punk music, and that's really where I got going because I could write my own songs and play in bands. And even when I was starting out, when I wasn't technically the most proficient, I could play Ramon songs and stuff like that. So that was really cool. And I kind of learned how to songwrite that way. And I was the only one in my friend group at that time who was willing to sing.
Oh,
So,
wow.
as everyone wanted to play an instrument, and kind of, when you're 13, you're a little more I don't know, shy or nervous or something. But so that's how I became a singer. And then I realized if I could write the songs too, then I wouldn't have to memorize everybody's lyrics so much. So I could just, kind of start writing. So I got into that. I played in a lot of more rock and roll and punk rock kind of style bands for probably until I was about 22. So through high school and stuff, I did that. And then I joined this band called Knee High. We started the band in Chicago, and that was a little bit more rock. Like, it was kind of garagey, but it wasn't like necessarily punk music or anything like that. It was a lot more pop music oriented, harmonies, kind of like Birds and Beach Boys harmonies with kind of jangly guitars. And we did really well. And we actually just played a reunion show earlier this year. So that was kind of my foray into like the Chicago music scene. And then we toured a lot nationally in the US. So I got to meet everybody around the country that was kind of in the same world. And then that band broke up maybe about 7 years ago or something. And I've been doing different projects, a band called Spun Out, which is kind of more of an art rock, new wave kind of thing. And then this is my solo album under MV Wells, which is my name, actually, Michael Victor Wells. But MV Wells is the moniker I've taken under for the solo thing to seem a little more serious. But yeah, this is my new record, Les Dauphines, and it's that I'm just put out on May 29th. And I've been playing some gigs around the Midwest here. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I still play with other bands occasionally, some jazz music recently. And this stuff is more kind of singer-songwriter, 60s pop kind of, I would say, 70s pop too style that I'm influenced by, like Harry Nilsson, John Lennon, and ELO is a little bit in there too. But yeah, that's kind of up to date now.
Yeah, that's kind of fun because I was just going to ask you who are some of your musical influences, and as you mentioned, I mean, I love hearing you say like the '60s and '70s music that that's kind of built around that. I mean, if you look at the young kids today, right? a lot of people are actually listening to older music now, not even like the newer stuff that's coming out. A lot of you like old school, like 70s, 80s, even 90s, in the early 2000s. We actually did a survey on this not too long ago, and believe it or not, a lot of younger people, a lot of younger generation is going back and listening to old school. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that they're listening to older music compared to the stuff that's coming out now?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I think as someone when I was younger I guess I'm a 90s kid, so like I was still listening to older music than that. But my favorite music that was new was kind of influenced, everything's influenced by the past, of course. But I think maybe it had something that has to do with it being a little imperfect. I think we live in a technological time where you can make music kind of pristine to the point where it gets a little boring. I think playing instruments is not boring. I think maybe that's why I would say if I could choose, and not to put down any of the electronic music of the past, it certainly is interesting stuff and it's pristine too. But I would say there's a lot of emphasis on songwriting lyrics that are maybe not as stuck in the time as maybe now. I feel like there's a lot of references to what life is like now, which is fine. But I think there's a universality to a lot of pop music or rock and roll and hip hop too, of course, and dance music of the past where it wasn't necessarily self-referential as much. They were trying to make music that would last. And I feel like maybe that's the difference. I wouldn't know. I guess I've always liked guitar music, so and pianos. Then I like it when it has a little bit of a human element to it. So maybe that's what it is, but that's just my guess.
What do you think about the music of like the artists are transitioning from one genre to another? Example: Post Malone,
Right.
Beyonce. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on. What do you think about those guys transitioning from one spot to another, going into the country scene? I mean, country music is actually pretty big right now,
Right.
and but it's a different. I mean, to me, like the country sound is a different sound. Your thoughts on that?
I think, well, Beyonce, I feel like can do no wrong in my eyes because she's so talented. But, and I thought that kind of country style record was actually pretty good it's like a pop country album. I like kind of more outlaw country and the old school stuff, but I thought it was pretty good. Post Malone, I'm not too familiar with his he does hip hop and kind of R&B too. He sings a bit in the past, at least. I don't really know his new stuff, to be honest. I think it's cool. I think country music is really a great uh, genre in general. I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan of Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, and Johnny Cash, of course, Merle Haggard, that kind of era. And I think as long as it's informed by the history. Obviously, there's many, many great other country artists. As long as it's informed, I think it's good when people change genres. As long as it's not like a cash grab. But
Yeah, right.
and that sometimes it is a cash grab, obviously, and that's fine too, I guess. But I like it when people change things up. I think it's interesting when people make different records, and I think it's benefits the listener when an artist who does one thing tries something different for their audience to kind of open up their ears to different styles. Maybe they'll dig into that style and learn more about the genre. Country music has a great history, um, and and not to just pick on the country artists, but I think it's interesting when people try different things. It usually is good. Sometimes it's bad, but you have to take that risk to find out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. So I got to tell you a cool story that actually happened yesterday on yesterday's show. We had an artist, 21 years old. His name is Austin Haig, and he's from Ohio. And as we talk off the air, our Spotlight show is actually filmed live up in Asheville, North Carolina.
Mhm.
This artist drove 8 hours to come to our show to do the show, sing a few songs, and he left with a memory he'll never forget. And the reason I bring that to your attention is like when, here's a guy traveling 8 hours, has the hunger, he's serious about what he wants to do. He just needs a way. He needs someone to show him the way. And that's what this show is all about. What do you think about that? I mean, what do you think about an artist driving 8 hours to come to a show, get his feet wet, and get introduced to some people that can help him?
I think that's great. I mean, if you got the gas money,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think that's great. That's how you're supposed to do it, in my viewpoint. That's what I used to do when I was that age. Was I would drive long distances with my. Usually, I'd have a band with me, so I wouldn't have to do all the driving. But go play a gig or go play a interview or a music kind of broadcasting thing, streaming thing, and meet people and show them what you got, and um, I think that's what it's about. I think we don't you don't want to have too much convenience, um, and you want to work for towards something. So like I think if there's people willing to listen to you or give you that avenue, um, that's what it's all about to me, because that's when you get the connections that are interesting in your life, and also in your career. And not everything pans out. That's probably true of everything in life, but it's important to work hard, and it's important to meet people who are willing to give you a chance, to express yourself in an art form that you love. And I think that's great. I mean, 8 hours of driving doesn't sound fun, but playing does sound fun. So I'm all for that.
What words of advice? I mean, obviously you're an established artist now, and you're traveling all over, and we're going to talk about your album here in just a moment. What I mean, if he was standing right here next to us, what bit of advice would you give him?
I would say I would give 2 points of advice. I would say play what you want to play, and that makes you happy first, because the audience, if it's going to be there, it's not going to make sense to play to some fictional thing that it's in your mind of what's cool or what's popular or whatever. Don't do that. Do what you want to do, and everything will line up behind it, because it'll work itself out. Second, I would say always be kind and courteous and respectful to people who work with you. And that means, whether it's broadcast people or people willing to put out your music, or venues that you work with. If you're going to play a show, the people who work the venues are there. That's their job, and you're doing your job. And don't have that rock star mentality of the bad part of rock star mentality, which is, I'm the king or queen or whatever of this or that. And it's about being putting on a good show and good art and good records, or and working with the people who are interested and giving their time to collaborate with you to make something like that. I think those are the two things. It's follow your kind of um, musical ethos, and be kind to those around you who are willing to give that time to you.
Awesome. Let's switch gears now. Let's talk about your album. You
Sure.
just released this album, right? Two-part question. The first part of the question would be, how did the album come together? And the second part of that question is, what type of feedback are you getting from it?
Oh, the album came together over honestly a couple years, because I was still making some records and playing a lot of shows with my rock and roll band, which is called Spun Out. There's just shameless plug. But yeah, I recorded it mostly at this place called Palisade Studios in Chicago, with my cousin Joshua Wells, who is a fantastic drummer, but fantastic musician in general. And he also kind of produced and engineered it along with my friend Eric Rasmussen. And I had a few other players on it, but mostly it was between me and Joshua. He did a lot of the drums and a bunch of the keyboards, and I did keyboards and guitars, and then I did the vocals, and he sang backup. Anyways, it was kind of a collaboration between the two of us. I was really interested in trying to replicate some sounds from Burt Bacharach. I really love Burt Bacharach's writing. So I was really influenced by that, and Harry Nilsson, um, and some of the early John Lennon records where it's more simple in the sense of the pianos are kind of simple, but the vocals take the forefront. But kind of personal records. But I wanted to add that Burt Bacharach kind of orchestral thing to it, so we worked with a lot of string and horn players on it. After the main session. So that's kind of how I started rolling it out. And then as I would play it out, I'd meet people, and I got in touch with this guy Paul Whitehead, who is this artist. He's a British artist, but he lives in the U.S. nowadays in California, and he did the first 3 Genesis records. If anyone's into Genesis or Peter Gabriel, he did the art for those. So I was like, hey, he's still working, he's so it was easy enough to get a hold of him, and he worked with me to make the record and to the artwork for the record. So that was kind of the last touch of it. But I worked with a lot of great Chicago musicians here, and Chicago Mastering Service, and a lot of different engineers and stuff locally. But Paul was kind of the cherry on top for me because I'm such a huge Peter Gabriel fan. So and then we put it out. I'm putting it out myself because I really wanted to try that. I've been working with some great labels. Of course, Suga is a local record label that I've worked with a lot, and they helped me promote this stuff too. But I wanted to kind of distribute it myself because I wanted, all angles rather covered by myself, where I'm like, oh, here's the art, here's this, here's that. So and it came out at the end of May 29. So it's been really cool. The reception's been cool. People have been interested in it because I think it's not, it's like indie rock or something, but it's not lo-fi. It's very hi-fi, and it's very much an attempt at me to try to make one of those kind of big 60s records that are, they bring in an orchestra or something. Granted, I had the technological edge of the 21st century to I didn't have to hire a whole orchestra, but
Yeah.
it's been going great. I mean, a lot of people have been digging it. It's been really good feedback, and I think they get the idea of it, which is cool. That's I was mostly worried. I'm like, oh, do you understand? Because Burt Bacharach is like a staple in American music, but he isn't necessarily a staple nowadays, because he recently passed, I think. But people are like, oh, you like Burt Bacharach? And I'm like, yeah, you get it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so on the album, are there any specific songs that you really like a lot compared to other ones on the album, or are they pretty much you like them all?
Well, I like them all for different reasons. My favorite one is probably this one called "Dreaming About You," which it's really got a lot of strings on it, and it's very theatrical, and it's kind of a disco song, which I like disco most disco, but it kind of started as more of like that Burt Bacharach kind of pop style, and then we kind of gave it a disco beat, and I really like that one because it's just really hi-fi and really catchy, and there's a great string parts on it, kind of ELO, electric light orchestra style kind of string parts, da 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 da, that kind of disco style. So I really like that one.
Describe your music in 3 words.
Oh, okay. Orchestral cosmic pop.
I love it. That's awesome. What is one of the I mean, obviously, you've excuse me, you've had like such a great career in music, and you guys doing great. Looking back at your career, is there anything that stand out to you that you look back like, wow, I can't believe I'm here and I've already done it.
Oh yeah, I had a really great gig a few years ago in Millennium Park here in Chicago, which is, if you're familiar with Chicago, it's downtown. and they have a great big bandstand. They do a lot of cool concerts there. But we got to play there, and it was I found out the count was like 14,000 people on an open lawn, and then they have a band shell, of course. But uh, and that was really cool. I was like, looked out, and I'm like, that's 14,000 people. Wow. Okay, so that was maybe the biggest crowd I played to. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good top out for me. Even, I'm coming from playing in basements and punk clubs and roadhouses, and then if that's the biggest one I do, then I'm cool with that. But that was a really cool moment. Um, I got to be. I'm not. It's funny. I'm not actually a Cubs fan, but we were. Our music was played at the beginning of the Cubs opening season, right after they won the um, MLB World Series and everything. So that was kind of cool in terms of baseball because I like baseball, but I'm not a Cubs fan, I'm a Brewers fan because I grew up in Wisconsin. So there's an edge to that, but yeah, I could say those two things.
There you go. Yeah. And so let me ask you this. I mean, as we mentioned, you've had such a great career. You've been on some of the biggest platforms, and you just released a new album, and you're just taking off right now. Um, with that being said, when you go on stage, do you have any like pre-rituals? Do you do anything like to get warmed up before the big show? What does that look like for you?
Oh yeah, I definitely try to get psyched up. I'm a singer, so I got to warm my voice up usually. I've since I was 16, I've sang Four Seasons, Oh What a Night. Well, it's December. What's I
December
Yeah. Okay, I
1963.
do that one almost every time. I do my vocal warm up, and then I sing that one because it's got all the different kind of ranges I do because it has a bass and a baritone, and then or a baritone tenor, and then it's got the high stuff, Frankie Valli stuff, and the falsetto in there. So I do that almost every show. Um, Other than that, that's probably my only ritual I can think of. But I have done that since I was about 16 or 17 years old.
Oh wow. Well, can you sing it for us now?
It might not sound so good. I just woke up, but sure, yeah. If you got the rights.
All right, sing us a portion of it. Go ahead. I've got to tell you, right? When you come to our Spotlight
Uh-huh.
show, expect the
Okay.
unexpected.
Okay, I'll try. I'll try. Oh, what a night. Late December back in 63. What a very special time for me. What a lady, what a night. Yeah, I'm a little rough. I just woke up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
woo! That was awesome. I love it. Thank you for doing.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing that for us, and thank you for allowing me to put you on the
sure.
spot.
Well,
let's talk about CC.
okay.
How did you and CC hook up together? What did that look like, and how's he been an inspiration to your career?
Oh, CC. Well, I've known CC, I think maybe 2 or 3 years. I met him through my cousin Joshua Wells, who, like I mentioned before, played on and kind of produced the album. And they play in a group together called Autogram. And CC, I knew of through Autogram because I knew the records that they made. And then, like I mentioned, my other band Spun Out had put out a record, and CC helped out with that. And then going through this, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should like try to work with this guy because
Wow. I
really cool and he does cool work. And that's why I even working on it last time. My thing went a little hazy there, but yeah, he's a great guy and he does a great job. So it's been cool. He's been giving me interesting assignments, which is really fun. That's
That's cool. As we wind down our interview this morning, is there anything you'd like to share with our audience?
my record's out there. It's called Les Dauphines, and there's a lot of great pop music on there. And there's a lot of weird stuff on there too. If you're weird production things. There's a lot of that too. And I just hope people get out there and listen to LPs of it, and they're multiple colors. The artwork's great, again, by Paul Whitehead, who did famous for his work with Genesis. And I also have T-shirts. And I'm going to be playing some more gigs this year.
All right, well, you break up a little bit on the air, and yeah,
that.
so you break up a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think we're okay now.
Okay, you sound good right there. Yeah, you're good now. All right. And so how can our listeners get in contact with you?
Oh, sorry. I think I just have a little lag here. They can get in contact with me through my Instagram or through my Bandcamp, MV Wells. And then my Instagram is MV Wells. And I'm pretty responsive to that. So if you ever want to just head up. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time this morning to be with us. And it was a pleasure meeting you, and much success as you move on with your amazing career. And we're going to have you back for part 2 for sure. And any final thoughts as we wind down our show? All right. All right. Well, we're having a little bit of a difficulty there with Michael, but that's okay. Oh, there you go. You're back. All right. Any final thoughts?
No, thank you very much for having me.
All right. All right. Well, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with Michael. That's okay though. I want to thank him for being with us. And we'll be back next on the Artist Spotlight Show with another amazing artist just like Michael. And again, our show is being brought to you by Music Dreams USA Radio Worldwide, Table and Mike Productions up in Asheville, North Carolina, and by Canadian Barber and Company. Until the next time, meet your friend Russell K. Wishing you and yours a very pleasant good day. And thank you for watching the Artist Spotlight Show.